Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Well, you'll remember Pastor James Coates. He was the pastor of the Grace Life Church in Parkland County, just outside of Edmonton, and he would not bend the knee to the government of Alberta that restricted his ability to have a church in real life as opposed to people watching via Zoom. So week after week, the police came to the church, but alas, he would not allow them in. So one morning before the church was even open, the police came by the dozen, erected a fence around the property, and have occupied it around the clock 24/7 ever since, turning it into an armed military garrison, paramilitary, heavily armed RCMP. They've set up their latrines in their perimeter. It's like a little army base in Afghanistan, expropriating the church and not giving it back. Well, while the church is expropriated by the government, something that I must say is more affiliated in my mind with Communist China or the Ayatollahs of Iran, the pastor himself is back on trial for refusing to bend the knee. I say he should simply just call his church a Costco or a Walmart or a liquor store, and then it would be open. Joining us now is Sheila Gunn Reid, our chief reporter, who has been following the trial of James Coates, and she's on a very quick break right now from the trial. Sheila, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Ezra, thanks for having me on the show.
Well, of course. So you're participating in this trial, but it's not a normal trial. For example, trials are conducted by Zoom or a version of Zoom all the time. But this, weirdly, you can only participate or watch it by telephone, and they're keeping the identity of the prosecutor secret. I think that's why they're only allowing people to listen instead of to watch. That's so bizarre. I've never heard of that before. Can you confirm for me that they're keeping the identity of the prosecutor a secret? Is that true?
They are. It's my understanding that it is the same prosecutor that kept her identity secret during the bail appeal hearings.
Oh, what's her name again?
Karen Thorsrud.
And
back then, she argued that Pastor James was such a threat to the community at large that he should face bail conditions that violated his charter rights, as in his freedom of religion. Those were her bail conditions. In the meantime, the very same facility that housed Pastor Coates, the Maximum Security Edmonton Remand Center, it's never been easier to get bail there if you're willing to just stand up and lie to a judge and say you're going to be a good guy. They released hundreds of prisoners from that same facility under Karen Thorsrud's watch because apparently the coronavirus was too deadly for them to be exposed to there. Now, and I should note, Pastor James Coates, his church, has operated at capacity for 37 straight weeks without a single instance of coronavirus until the province seized control of the property and took it from them. Now, that hasn't stopped them from meeting, but that was the only way that the government thought that they could crack down on this church. They locked up their pastor. That didn't work. So then they stole the facility from them, and the church continues to meet elsewhere, underground, a secret church in the Western world.
Now, I point out the fact that this prosecutor, Karen Thorsrud, is trying to do this in secret, that they're having this bizarre system where the public can listen with their ears but not see. I think this is what they would call a stitch-up, which is obvious. I mean, I've met the church members. I've attended that church one weekend. They are as gentle as lambs, and they are not confrontational. Of course, the pastor literally turned himself in to the police department on his own volition. Pastor Arthur Pavlovsky in Calgary is a little louder and more bellicose. Pastor James Coates couldn't be more submissive to authority. He willingly took the 35-day prison sentence. It was as if they gave him the keys. He could leave any time as long as he just promised to shut down his church. So my point of reciting how gentle he is is that this whole drama queen move by Karen Thorsrud, oh my God, Your Honor, you know, I prosecuted the mafia, I prosecuted murderers, I prosecuted terrorists, but nothing like this. Please, Your Honor, don't say my name, Karen Thorsrud. Let me be secret and don't let anyone see me. I'm worried about these Christian terrorists. That's really what this is. This is a dramatic effect to try and poison the well against the gentlest pastor around by a prosecution that is motivated by anti-Christian bigotry. That's how I see it. What do you think?
The prosecutor is not the only one succumbing to this victimhood as virtue philosophy that's perpetrating itself in our justice system. The Alberta Health Services inspector who routinely harassed and interrupted church services through her own admission. She submitted evidence of her own crime, I guess, at trial, a video that she took during Grace Life Church services when she was inside the building surveilling them, and also a picture that she took. Her name is Janine Hanrahan, and she said that, and she admitted when she was being cross-examined by Leighton Gray, one of Pastor James Coates's attorneys or lawyers, that she started bringing police with her to the church, because initially she didn't do that, but she started bringing police with her to the church because of the media attention that was being directed at the church once Alberta Health Services got involved. Not that she felt threatened by anybody who went to the church at all.
Huh. So was it to impress the media, or to send a narrative to the media, or the media wanted it? Like, I don't understand the media. So you bring police if you want to protect yourself, and she says she felt no fear. You bring police if you want to intimidate someone. That's certainly evident. And you bring police if you want to put on a drama queen show. Is that last one, like when you say because of the media, what does that mean? Because they told her to, or because they wanted a spectacle?
I think because she was putting on a spectacle. Now, she wasn't entirely clear, and I'm probably inferring a bit here, but she testified that when Leighton Gray asked her what changed, why did you start bringing the police? She said the media attention changed. So was it political theater for the media?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it's so bizarre.
What else am I supposed to infer?
You know, the rule of law means no one is above the law and no one is below the law. And you've told me several things already that tells me that Grace Life Church is below the law here. That they interrupt the church in violation of Section 176.2 of the Criminal Code. That they harass the church, and they admit the church doesn't harass them back. But for shock and awe, she brings cops to delight the media. And finally, that they're keeping the identity of the prosecutors secret. We don't have secret prosecutors in Canada. If you're prosecuting the mafia or the terrorists, if you need protection, you get protection. You don't get to be anonymous. I think it's a sign that this prosecutor knows what she is doing is shameful. And for the court to go along with it is shameful. They should be ashamed because and here's the crazy thing. Pastor Coates is on trial again today, second day. I think they're going to arrest Pastor Pavlovsky, Arthur Pavlovsky in Calgary. And Alberta, my home province, motto, Fortis et Liber, strong and free, will be the place of not one but two pastors in jail. I don't know of any other jurisdiction in a free democracy anywhere in Europe, in America, in Australia. I don't know any democracy in the world that in this lockdown has jailed one pastor, let alone two. And to have secret trials and secret affidavits, as has been done to Pastor Pavlovsky, is such a disgrace. I'm so angry about it. You're live tweeting this. Where can we catch your updates for folks who haven't been following you on Twitter?
You can find it at freepastorjames.com. And you just touched on something there, and I've got a couple minutes before I have to get it back into court. They laid out the timeline today, Pastor Coates' lawyers, about when the enforcement happened to Pastor James. December 20th, directly after a sermon that was critical of the government. February 16th, directly after February 14th sermon that was directly critical of the government. It would seem as though the only time public health was an absolute emergency, that health officials had to crack down on that church, was every time immediately after the church held a sermon critical of the government.
I'm not surprised. I am disgusted. Alberta, once the freest province, is rapidly becoming the least free. I see the premier there talking about bringing in curfews, scolding people. We have a Fight the Fines project, and I think that Alberta is going to soon become the largest source of customers because it has the most abusive enforcement. Pastor Coates has the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms helping him in court. We're representing Pastor Arthur Pavlovsky in Calgary. And in both cases, you got to wonder, where's the civil liberties groups? Where's the law professors? Where's other church and other religious leaders? Where's the rabbis, the imams, the temple leaders? Where's the other religions? In fact, I've even seen some Christian churches denouncing these Christian pastors. I saw Knox United Church put out a disgraceful condemnation. Sheila, I'm glad you're in there. I got to let you go because I know you're just on a short break. We'll keep looking at your tweets on Twitter at Sheila Gunn Reid and at freepastorjames.com. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Ezra.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.